I actually am, I was born into a Catholic family. I'm very Christian in my beliefs, So I do actually believe this stuff to the full.
So Joe Rogan has Mel Gibson on the show, and I think it's super interesting because he recently just had Wes Huff, and now they're going to be talking about the Passion of Christ and how Mel Gibson made the Passion of the Christ. And
like subtitled movies, you feel like you're a smarter person watching a movie where you're reading it as well.
Yeah. And there's something about the written word that's it's a pretty interesting thing to throw into the mix. I know when I first started it was kind of confusing, but then I got really good at it. And I think, especially with something like the Passion that I did, the written word was very important because it was, you got all those books, the Bible, you've got the different Gospels and stuff that people are quite familiar with. Half the time, they didn't even need to read the subtitles. They could look at it and know what was going on.
That was a crazy movie because it was a great movie, but it seemed like there was resistance to that movie.
Oh, yeah. No, there was...
which I thought was very strange. There was like Hollywood resistance to that movie. Like people didn't like that you were making it, it seemed like.
Yeah, there was a lot of opposition to it. And... I don't know. I think if you ever hit on that subject matter, you're going to get people going because,
of course,
it's big subject matter, and it's And my contention is, when I was making it, it was like you're making this film, and the idea was that we're all responsible for this. That his sacrifice was for all mankind, and that for all our ills and all the things in our fallen nature. It was a redemption. So, and I believe that, I actually am, I was born into a Catholic family. I'm very Christian in my beliefs, So I do actually believe this stuff to the full. So depicting that was an honor, but it was also, you got the daylights beat out of you for it.
Yeah, because there's resistance, first of all, from secular Hollywood, where for whatever reason, Christianity is the one religion that you're allowed to disparage.
Yeah.
Christianity is the one religion where people, all these progressive, open-minded, leftist people, they'll embrace all these different religions until it comes to Christianity. And for whatever reason, that represents like white male, whatever it represents, colonialism, whatever it represents, it's negative.
Yeah, sure, it's gotten a bad rap. And people do feel free to beat up on it. Mm-hmm. Even I do when I see it's like, when it's not fair, or when I think it's off.
Right.
Like, when they appoint some cardinal in some diocese and he's been covering up for like people who are child molesters.
Yes.
Or, like Theodore McCarrick or Cardinal Wuerl or those kind of guys. I mean.
Or the Pope.
Yes, absolutely. I'm
Benedict.
Not Benny. Well, he was covering up, but so is the guy now.
Is he really?
Well, yeah.
Interesting.
It's not great.
I thought he was like the more progressive Pope.
Oh, he's very progressive, yes.
But he's covering up for stuff as well. Well, they all are. I mean, it's a dark institution in a lot of ways because it's history.
Well, the institution, it was instituted by Christ, but that doesn't mean that it can't be flawed. And there's a school of thought that says it isn't what it purports to be anymore. It's moved away from what it was intended to be and what it is. Almost, there's a guy called Bishop Vigano who says it's a counterfeit parallel church, and it's running an entirely different religion.
That's interesting. I wouldn't say that's completely true, but I would say though, people are flawed. That is 100% true. People are flawed, and we're going to make mistakes, and you can't put your whole entire faith into a person or to a pastor or a priest because they're going to fall short, and if they fall short and all your faith is in that person, then your faith is going to fall short. It's going to waver. So, yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting to hear a Catholic say that.
Actually, I don't adhere to a post-conciliar church. I adhere.
Can you define what that means?
Okay. There was an event that happened in the 60s. First, there was an event in the Vatican where they elected John the 23rd Pope, right, in 1958. I was 2 years old, right? He was elected, and it was a very funny thing that happened in the conclave. You know, usually there's white and black smoke that goes out of the chimneys to tell you, we have a pope, you know, habemus papam, you know. And the white smoke came out. And everybody cheered, and they went crazy. And then about a half an hour later, black smoke came out. That never in history has that happened, that the white smoke came out. And then the black smoke came
So
out.
white smoke means we found a new pope. Black smoke means no pope.
That's right. They'd have votes, or there'd be one reason or another. They'd have a round in the conclave, and black smoke would come out many times maybe. Maybe it would take 2 weeks. But never was it known that white smoke came out, then black smoke came out.
So what was the scenario?
Wow.
That somebody was elected, and that maybe something else happened, and he was pushed aside and someone else was put in. So it was
Power struggle.
some kind of power struggle. And, of course, the man who came out was a man called Angelo Roncalli, and he was John the 23rd. Now, it's interesting to note that never had a pope taken the name of another pope ever before in history. But this man took the name of a known anti-pope from the 15th century that Cosimo de' Medici put in there as his own man. I'll get you in the chair, and then everything will be rosy. You know, everything will go good for business. You know, whatever he was putting him in there for, some corrupt reason. But and there have been corrupt men in that place before. I mean, there's Alexander VI and Julius II and Sixtus IV. I mean, some of these guys are, you know, they're not saints. So he took the name of a known anti-pope from the 5th century, who actually said, yes, I'm an anti-pope. Sorry, I'm not the right guy, because there was more than one, and he confessed to being, and he wanted to, you know, square things with the Almighty, I guess, so he confessed to being an anti-pope. And so he took the same name as that guy, John the 23rd. So it's interesting, don't you think? I mean, why would he do that?
Well, whenever you have that kind of power, like I'm sure you've been to the Vatican, right?
Yeah.
It's stunning.
Yes, it's huge.
It's so crazy. When you're walking around, you see just the massive amount, just the dollar value in the art that they possess.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane.
It's crazy. Yeah. And, you know, it's a very small country. It's a country.
Yeah,
I
it's a
guess.
country inside of a small city.
Yeah.
Because Rome's not the biggest city.
No.
And then it's got a country inside the city
Yeah.
with walls around it.
Sure.
And you can't extradite people.
Yeah. Pretty weird.
How convenient.
Yeah. Even Ratzinger, he didn't drive from the Vatican to the other place. He flew.
Ooh.
And it was only a little while, because who knows why? I don't know.
Well, he was wanted.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he had done, one of the things that he had done was he had moved a priest that had molested 100 kids, and he moved him to some new place where he molested deaf kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
That's the dirtiest, most evil practice that the Catholic Church has been accused of.
I think so, and many institutions as well.
Yeah.
But that is a very bad one, and I think it's all part and parcel of the same corruption that crept in. And when you asked what's the difference between pre-Vatican II, so Vatican II happened, and of course they took the church and they reformed it, and they changed things in it, and it didn't necessarily agree with everything that went before it. And up to that point, yeah, you could find it agreed with itself, but all of a sudden, you got something else. To the point where now, I mean, we got a pope that brought a South American idol into the church to worship.
Really?
He did. The Pachamama.
What?
He brought the South American, and he got.
I don't know what that is.
It's kind of like a South American god, Pachamama.
Why would he do that?
Good question. But he did.
Did he have an explanation for why he did it?
Yeah, it's kind of a weasel-worded thing of like, oh, all religions are just as good as one another. But, you know, if that's his
That's
contention.
crazy.
He shouldn't be the Pope.
No. I
How
mean,
can
Yeah.
you be the Pope if you say all religions are just as good?
yeah, we all worship, you know. So, yeah, there's a Pachamama. There you go.
So he brought that in.
Yeah, into the Vatican. Then the hierarchy even worshipped. They had a ceremony around it outside.
What?
So, well, that constitutes apostasy.
Yeah.
Joe. That's an apostasy
Yeah.
move, all right?
Worshipping false gods.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think that the Pope would put that in there. That's crazy. Like, their whole point is to push people to Jesus, if this is true. So I hope Joe Rogan, though, doesn't, like, use this as an opportunity to use this to deter that God is real. I hope he doesn't use this as an opportunity to not believe in Jesus, to say, oh, there's problems.
Number one on the Mosaic hit list. You know? Moses goes up on the mountain. He comes back down. People are worshiping a golden calf.
Yeah.
You know, it's that.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. And for me, that's a departure from what you know, that's called apostasy.
Right.
That's a falling away from it. And the very nature of apostasy means that you have to be part of it to fall away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an inside job.
So what do you think there's a motive behind these things?
I don't think well, probably.
What do you think it is?
I don't know, but it isn't good. I think we're looking at a world where, and this is in the next film I'm going to do. I'm going to try and tackle this question. That there are big realms, spiritual realms. There's good, there's evil, and they are slugging it out for the souls of mankind. And my question is, why are we even important? Little old flawed humanity, why are we important in that process where the big realms are slugging it out over us? And I think there's bigger things at play here. And institutions that purport to touch on the divine are necessarily going to be affected by that slugfest that's going on between good and evil.
Right.
And
sometimes good gives up ground.
Yeah. And maybe not on purpose.
So
that's absolutely crazy.
This story that you want to tell about good and evil, like, do you have a script, or is it just a thing in your head? What is it?
Yeah, it's the resurrection story, but it's not
story.
it's not linear.
That's cool
because you can't really. It's hard to understand, so it's got to be put in a framework where you answer a few other questions as well. And you have to juxtapose the event itself against everything else so that it makes some kind of sense in a bigger picture, which is a hard thing to do. And it took my brother and I and a guy called Randall Wallace, plus my brother and I, took us 6-7 years to write it.
Wow.
So are you doing this with historians as well? Are you trying to make it? Yeah,
historical stuff. Well, I regard the Gospels as history. It's verifiable history. Some people say, "Oh, it's a fairy tale." He never existed, but he did. And there are other accounts, verifiable historical accounts outside the biblical ones that also bear this up. That yes, he did exist.
Wow.
And the other aspect of that is that all the evangelists, the apostles who went out there. Every single one of those guys died rather than deny their belief. Yep. And nobody dies for a lie.
That's good. Well, guys, we all need a savior. We need Jesus. And it's absolutely crazy. We can't put our faith and trust in people, pastors, priests, whoever that may be. And I encourage you guys to put your faith and trust in Jesus each and every day. I hope you guys know that he loves you and he died on the cross for your sins. Thank you guys so much for watching.